Thank you, Mr. Secretary. If the chairman of the full committee and the ranking member of the full committee come in, we'll let them make an opening statement when they come. First, let me ask you about this. As I mentioned in my opening statement, the President's skinny budget request proposed cuts to the Department of Interior that we may not be able to fully replicate in our FY26 bill. You may have seen that we had EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin testify before our subcommittee last week, and I asked him the same question that I'm going to ask you. If Congress chooses to provide discretionary appropriations for the agency that are levels above the President's, the President's budget request, how would you handle that? In other words, would you spend the amounts provided in an enacted bill and for the specific programs that Congress identifies?
Yes, that would be the law.
Okay. Let me ask you another question. I also wanted to take a moment to ask about land exchanges. Secretary Burgum, in order to assess and execute all land exchanges that come before the department, does the agency have all the tools it needs to carry out the current processes, or are additional authorities necessary? And I assume that the processes include, you have to have appraisals and all of that type of thing. You have to do public hearings. You have to have tribal consultations, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have all the tools to do that, or are additional authorities necessary?
Well, we have a good set of tools in the tool bag today. And one example of that we've already completed was a land exchange with the state of Utah that we completed back in February. It's about 200,000 acres of federal and 188,000 acres of state. This is a project that had worked on for some time, but it was able to get completed in February, and was able to sign that with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. As you know, out west, we've got plenty of places where we've got a checkerboard of land. And in this case, we were able to trade lands to sort of fill in the checkerboard for the state and fill in the checkerboard at the federal level. In the case of the lands received from Utah, we were able to fill in a checkerboard of a wilderness area that was a federal wilderness area that will remain wilderness area, but is now doesn't create the complications of us trying to have every other section be wilderness area with the state having a different set of regulations, a different set of people managing those resources in between. Conversely, at the state level, the state now has got contiguous opportunities to choose whether they want to do that for affordable housing, whether they want to do it for recreation, whether they want to do it for state parks or state recreation. So it was definitely a win-win in both cases. And and in this case, these are public lands that remained in public hands because it was a swap between the federal government and a state. I think there's more opportunity to do that. As you know, when the railroads transected the West as one of the incentives to get those railroads built, they gave at one time in the private sector these checkerboard of land as an incentive. And so I think there's a big opportunity for those kinds of swaps. And I also, as governor of North Dakota, was chairman of the land board. So I've got 8 years of experience of where we were able to, once in state hands, sometimes it was better for us to move those lands, down into more local control for local uses. And so we were able to do that because, again, as a general principle, as a governor, I've found that state game and fish, state land management, state grazing associations, local, all this, I have to say I never met someone from D.C. that cared more about the land, the water, the wildlife, the fish at the local level than the people in those states. And I know that the representatives at this table have all come from states that have got deep commitments to the land and the wildlife and their environment. So I think that there's plenty of opportunities for us to do both, which is have more efficient use of public lands and do all the protection we need about the things the public cares about, that we all care about so deeply.
But apparently you do have the authority to do this right now. You do have the tools to do this.
We do, and we certainly will be taking a look to see if there's other things that are getting in the way of efficiently using public lands. I think in particular we're paying attention to the western states. I think it's maybe not well known, but we do have in states that are represented on this committee Utah, over 60% of that is federal land. Nevada, over 80%. Alaska, Nevada's #1 in terms of percentage owned by the federal government. Alaska, massive amounts of federal land, and in many cases, we're restricting the opportunities for those states that should have the same opportunity under the United States of America to prosper as we have other states. We've got states in the East, including the 13 states that were part of the original colonies. None of them have more than 2% of federal land. And I don't think any of them would stand up and say, we need more federal ownership in our states. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard people saying that. So it's I think there's a path forward here.
There is. Idaho is third on the list with 64% federal land. And I will tell you, as I've told the reporters and stuff, the reason people live in the West, the reason people live in Idaho, because we love our public lands, and we want to make sure that they remain public so that your favorite hunting grounds or fishing hole or hiking or snow machining area is not cut off because of private ownership that bans travel. And in Idaho, travel doesn't mean, they've closed this road, I'll just go down another mile and take the next road. It sometimes means you're leaving the state and going into Montana and coming back across the mountains to your, unreasonable stuff. So those are concerns I have personally about access and public lands for public use. So anyway, let me stop for just a minute. And
as I say, you might have one member that would be happy that they came to Montana for a while before they came back in.
Yeah.